Okay, so let's start by just placing the hands over the belly, the dantian. I want to visualize it like a sphere, like a balloon or a bladder or a ball. With a springy, rubbery surface. Just start the breathing and just imagine that you're massaging that bladder, squeezing it, and then stretching it. Turning with it. Into prayer, but still feeling the dantian. And now just using the breathing to massage this region. So when I breathe in, I'm effectively pushing down my diaphragm. I want to feel the movement of the diaphragm. It's difficult. So as I breathe in, there's a sense that something is pushing down into this region. And then when I breathe out, the diaphragm sucks up. So I'm massaging this area with the action of the diaphragm and the breathing. So breathing in, diaphragm drops. Breathing out, diaphragm rises. And now let's rub the hands. And rubbing the knees. So we're getting into an alternating action, so twisting the shoulders and the head. And then linking the fingers behind the back, stretching, pulling the shoulder blades together, stretching the chest, and just moving the head. Good. And now let's use the stick. So first of all, behind, finding the point on the spine that needs to be worked in forwards and rolling it. and bringing it up behind the neck. Mind's still in that point on the spine, so that's still working forwards. Heavy elbows. So the elbows feel like they're really pulling down. And then just turning, getting into it gradually. So we're always interested in the point of return, so the limit. So I'm tightening one set of muscles to stretch the muscles the other side. And then if I relax the tightening muscles, the stretched muscles will naturally pull back. So what causes the return is a relaxation. This is what I want. I relax those tightening muscles and I will naturally spring back. I tighten, 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 and then relax those and I'll be pulled back. We want to feel the difference between the muscle that's actively tightening and the muscle that's being stretched. They feel similar because they're effectively both working, but one is active and one is passive. Okay, then the hands straight now. Okay, then just down the front. Imagine the stick is like a heavy bar. Keep the hands gripping but pulling apart all the time. So there's as much work going on as possible. Okay. And then just hands on the head, lacing the fingers together. Hands on the head. Now just tipping. Feeling the two sides. The contracting muscles are working. The muscles the other side are being stretched. And now the hands up and out. One hand over and turning the head, twisting the arms. So as you get into it, the shoulders also start to twist a little bit. And just become aware that you're effectively doing two figures of eights with the arms outstretched. And bring the hands in and the figure of eight exercise. try and work isometrically. So one set of muscles fighting another set. Your whole body is pretty tense. John was really into this, especially when we began back in the 80s. We just imagine resistance to everything that we do. Everything is difficult. Everything's a labor. John got this from Dr. Panizzi, his Italian Icelandic teacher, Italian father, Icelandic mother. Okay. And now you got a towel there. So let's just try those twists first. This is easy if we're sitting down because the hips are immobilized. The arms are straight, the towel is tight, so the hands pulling apart, and the shoulders are always relaxing. So there's a sense that the shoulders are relaxing down the arms all the time. So there's a feeling of extension forwards down the arms and out of the hands. And then we just turn, just twisting. Again, build up slowly. John, sometimes he used to call the waist, when we were working on its muscularity, he'd call it the corset of the waist. So imagine you've got a tight corset on. So we want the muscles of the waist to be able to tighten and squeeze. Because as we get older, they all tend to get a bit flabby and useless, and then we collapse, the spine collapses down into itself. So here I'm using the muscles around my waist, around the lower spine to squeeze upwards, squeeze up the spine. Now just see how far round I can go. Now we've got the towel. Let's try that one where we pull the hands together. So it's difficult to hold hands here. We're meant to be able to just hold the hands to get this stretch. But if you've got a towel, you can hold the towel and gradually work your hands towards each other. And then let's try the other side. There's always one side that's difficult. For me, it's this side. Okay. Pick up the stick again and do the pulling and pushings. So pulling the stick. So as well as pulling, twist like this. So just working the stick really. So there's always a feeling of this, in everything that we do. Like the two hands are working against each other on every plane, not just pulling apart, but twisting against each other as well. Trying to keep the shoulders down. When we work the hands and the arms, it'll all want to pull up into the shoulders. So if we can keep the shoulders relaxing, then the action will come more from your core around your spine rather than from the shoulders. And then pushing the hands together, but still keeping that twist going. And then pulling again. Yeah, so all of these things, you can actually work quite hard in them. I mean, this could give you blisters after a couple of minutes. And pushing again. Good. And now the mind here again in the down chin, but with the breathing, but feeling the breathing very much like an isometric exercise, almost like the in-breath and the out-breath are sort of fighting each other. So you can make this small hole to give it that feeling, or just use the muscles here. This gets into the reverse breathing. So pulling the belly in, tightening this region as you breathe in rather than as you breathe out. Okay, let's do some of the butterfly. rub the hands, and do the eyes. And the eyes. Good. And just down into the fetus. And back up. Lie back. First, just pulling the knees up. And then cycling. And then just pull one knee up and extend the other leg down. And then the other side. The other side again. And the other side again. And then both knees up again, pulling them up, but also pulling them apart. Okay, let's come back up. Into the squat. And the feet a bit wider apart and just threading the hands through. Let's just start by pulling in the rope. Shoulder blade coming away from the spine, reaching down the arm, which is twisting in order to extend the little finger. And then the little finger curls as I turn back. Coming into the opposite leg. So the arm is doing this and the leg is doing the same thing. My right arm is straightening, my right leg is straightening. My left little finger is extending, my left little toe is extending. And then those two digits curl up and that pulls me back. In the same way that it's the shoulder blade coming away from the spine that starts the extension down the arm, I like to feel it's my hip coming away from the sacrum that then continues down the leg. So to get this free, I really have to have my weight in the other leg. Or we want to feel it. And in particular, we want to feel the yield. So the yield is that, it's basically two actions: reaching forwards and then pulling in, reaching forwards, pulling in. So the yield is really that region where those two actions overlap. So you think of the mother extending an arm out to pick up the child that's weeping. So she extends her arm in the same way that we're doing, wraps it around the child, and she's still extending the arm to get underneath the child at the same time that she's hollowing here, so that there's somewhere for the child to come into, somewhere comforting. So there's a point where she's actually doing both. She's actually reaching out still, but actually drawing in as well. That is the yield. So it's quite a small region, but we want to feel that I'm reaching out, and this is already softening here and here. So the groin and the inside of the shoulder. And it's that that starts to turn the other way. And there's a real change in feeling at that point. And we want to just make sure we do feel it. So it's very far from just being a mechanical action. It's all in the feeling. So people find this just really difficult. They'd much rather just mindlessly mechanically move. Because then, of course, their mind can be with something else. They can be thinking about the pub afterwards. So I'm reaching out and I'm already, softening, and then the hand comes back. So I'm yielding. I'm not just fishing. I'm not just sending out a line and then pulling it back in. I'm making space. I'm creating a compassionate space. And it's here that especially we want to feel it in the groin. So I can't come into this leg too soon, because if I do, this region, this soft, spacious, welcoming region will just disappear. So I have to stay in this foot until the yield has started. It's only at the last minute I get drawn into this leg. That's it, looks good. Create the space. We tend to have a natural feeling for this anyway, because we've done so much pushing hands. But without that pushing hands experience, it's very difficult for people to catch this. They can do it, but they don't feel the importance of it. So they're not really that interested in it. And you can see it's this overlap, this yielding overlap that turns this mechanical piston action into the two circles. This is just built into our structure. You know, we've got these sort of articulated limbs, and so as the knee wants to go out, it will actually fold the hip this way if I keep everything loose. So the knee going out will actually make this come in. So that's partly responsible for this feeling that you've got quite a few things going on at the same time. Okay, so let's just put it to riding horse. Feel riding horse. This is weird itself. So effectively what's happening in riding horse and in the whole of Tai Chi is that my back is coming forwards, but my front is going back. So my shoulder blades pull away from the spine and extend down the arms at the same time that my chest is hollowing in to create space. So it's easy to feel that in the arms because it's sort of very much part of their structure. You know, the basic action is to go out and hug we just want to feel it in the legs as well. So I have to really work to get my hips spreading from the sacrum. So now let's work the legs, going down to swallow the ground upwards. Reaching with one leg from my sacrum, reaching with the other leg, getting under the ground and beckoning it up. All of these exercises, I really want to feel the activity, which is just another way of saying feel the spirit. So something really swells, has to work quite hard to maintain a level of intensity. Back into riding horse. And it's sort of springing open, same way that the shoulder blades spring away from the spine. We're well used to that. It's here, this is the difficult bit. We just want the legs to be very active. Spirit in the legs. And now let's just feel the vertical. So just letting the knees roll out a little bit. So instead of getting the knees to go out in order to come round, now they're just rolling like this. And that is pulling my sacrum forwards and down and allowing this to lift. And suddenly I'm aware of something beyond my ward-off space. It's like I'm looking over the top to the horizon. So this is sinking as though it's extending down to the center of the earth, and this is lifting right up into the heavens. And feel the three senses. So the dantian here is very much to do with my relationship with the earth. Yeah, so there's this sort of springiness here. The heart is very much to do with my relationship with my vicinity, with this space here, the room, the environs. And this center is to do with just opening up to the sky. You think of the sky as just being this infinite expanse. The earth is just minute, it's nothing compared to the vastness of the cosmos. So it's just really pulling down into a point here. So this is expanding out. So the feeling is like someone has sawn the top of your skull off, and there's just a light of consciousness and awareness shining out of you. So no space for thinking. As soon as you think, then the mind will contract and become heavy. It will become like an object, become like everything else in our life, and bear down on the heart and stop this from properly interacting here. So there's a sense that when this is really open and awake, like my head is rising up from my neck. So the neck is lengthening. Yeah, so working like this tends to shrink your neck in, almost like your neck disappears, but re-establishing the vertical, the spine is stretching. This is sinking down, this is rising up. We just have to make sure that we don't lose that, because that's the one that we have lost as a civilization. We've lost the sky. Yeah, so we tend to have knowledge now. So if I read books or asked AI, then it would tell me all about the universe and the cosmos and the constellations and the heavenly bodies. But it's not the same. Knowing it is not the same as feeling it. That's what we need to get into, is feeling the sky, feeling the stars, feeling the weather, the clouds, the movement. Yeah. And when you feel something, it's not like seeing, it's not like I'm taking an image into my head. I'm becoming the thing. There's a moment of feeling when you become. It's like when you see a child crying something and you cries with them. It's almost like tears come to your eyes. So that's the level of feeling that we need. We see something and we become it, if only for an instant. And we've completely lost that. There's no empathy anymore. And now let's just try that sumo one. So bringing the leg in and up and leaning over. And then reaching out and stamping down. So just start off modest. So we're just trying to, it's like a, one of those diggers, those mechanical diggers, the scoop that goes out and scoops a bucket full of earth. It's got that feeling. Now, backwards and forwards, pulling with the leg, full and empty. So I don't want to come out of the full leg, so this really stretches open before my weight starts flowing. Feeling it. Feel the pull here. Ooh. It's almost like a sense of panic. What I find with my students is, it's so difficult to wake people up nowadays. That's all I'm trying to do when I work with someone, is just wake them up. Because if they're not awake, they're not good company. I'd rather be on my own. And we do this exercise where we both lean back, we sort of hold each other's hands. We've done this in the intensives I've done in London, and we just both lean back. So we're balancing each other. What's interesting is, because it's sort of summer and we're all a bit sweaty, the grip starts slipping. It doesn't bother me if I fall back, who cares? But they start to panic because they can't hold me. They think I'm going to fall. And as they panic, they just become so much more alive because they're forced to feel. So their senses can't cut off anymore. And so that William Burroughs quote, panic is just a realization that everything else is as real as you are. It's a difficult one, that. So I pull, oh shit, it's like, that's what I want. That is, and again, it's the point of changing from one mode to another. That's why I want to have all of my faculties to bear, all of my sensitivity, so I can feel it. So like John used to say, because what used to happen was, we'd be doing something and then we'd change and do something else. And he'd always say, look, those junctures, that's when you really need to be vigilant. We tend to take it as a bit of a holiday. Oh, and then you go up into the next labor. But if you can just really concentrate at those points where you're wanting to slacken off, and it's normally when we change direction, something like this. So now something in me really expands. Ooh. And then as I start moving, it's boring. It's the points of change that are interesting. So feeling the knees. The activity is in my knees. This knee is trying to fly out and up. That would pull me down. And slowly I start moving. Feel the inertia of the body. This is the difficult one, getting the back knee to go out. Oh. It's quite interesting. If you see the pictures of young Cheng Fu, there's quite a few pictures of him. One's when he's young. He's a young man looking very strong and vigorous and handsome. All the way through his career, really. But when he was young, he used to really lean forwards like this in his postures. But as he got older, his postures became more upright. So his spine became more vertical, but also his back foot remained out. It didn't actually come in as he came into the front foot, it just stayed out. So his back knee was always free. So this joint was always pulled open. Because if you've got these long, leaning forward postures, then your back leg is basically dead. You're in the front foot and there's just nothing in the back leg. So it's very difficult to get this mobilized because there's something stopping it in the hip. If we can just keep that back leg always, the knees always wanting to go out. And then I don't have to start it because it's already there. That's the thing about isometric exercise. The forces are always in play. They're just shifting to change the movement. Okay, let's try. Pull with the leg. Remember, I'm pulling with the leg partly to open this here, to make that soft space for the person to fall into, the equivalent of here when I change direction. So if I move the weight too soon, or if I move the weight with my weighted leg, I'm going to just compress this area. It might as well not be there. So I have to, this space here in the groin. Hands going forwards, this already starts rounding out. So it's just a straight becoming round, really. That's the way they put it in Tai Chi. My straight arm comes round. So a circle appears, a space, a soft, empty space for the other person to fall into. And then just feel that. So the openness here is also allows the vertical. So it will pull this down and allow this to come up. So my legs just have to be strong enough so that I can just be free here. And so I can engage in with the other person without having to worry about the pain in my legs or having the correct support. That's it. That's great. It's just, and then this can just, you can just use the flicks of the waist to just fling the hands around and your legs can just take it. Basically, we just have to be strong enough to be able to be like that. And now let's try this one again, going for the softness in the joint. So what we want to feel here is the knee breaking out, but the hip breaking in and down. So the knee is coming up and out, and that's pulling this in and down. So that's what we want to feel here. It's this, like this sort of concertina action, these sort of alternating folds. Yeah, so just want some sort of action in the hip. Remember, we'd like this hip girdle to feel like it's just totally mobile. It can move in any direction. Maybe not very much, but there's real sort of wobble, potential wobble in it, like it's floating inside the body. And again, feeling it. How does it make you feel? It's enjoyable. So always letting the work change the way we feel. So for that to happen, you have to be open to that. And then just the slow jog. Now let's figure it out. When we did this sitting down, it was the twisting of the spine because the hips couldn't move because we were sitting. So now the hips can move. So it's more like turning rather than twisting. But we'd like to be able to, just reduce the turning, reduce the movement of the hips so that it is actually the twisting in the waist region, especially the action of the back. And now, picking the foot off the ground. Yeah, so how have we been getting into the foot? We've circled around it, around the outside edge, and that has allowed the inside edge plus this leg to lighten and the foot to come up. So let's just do it like this a few times. Big toe down, and then the foot goes down, and I send the weight in this big loop to get into the outside edge. And then this just comes up by itself. So I have to be strongly in the outside edge, otherwise the weight of the leg coming off the ground will tend to pull me that way. So this is wanting to fall down like that because it's heavy. And so there's a flow in that direction of my center of gravity effectively. And now, same thing, but instead of putting the foot down with a circle, I want to put it down with a figure of 8. So remember the way we were taught to step in Tai Chi, you lift the weight, lift the foot off the ground, extend the foot out, you point the big toe, and then you put your heel down, and then you bring the weight forwards. Remember that? So this is what we call stepping like a cat. So lifting the foot, extending, pointing the big toe at the ground, and that gets this stretch, and then putting the heel down and pulling yourself into it. So I'm not pushing myself with this leg. I'm pulling with the heel effectively I put the heel down and then I pull the heel in this direction, and that moves me forwards and into it. That's effectively a figure of 8 in the foot. So I extend the foot, put the big toe down, and then it's like I'm going to do the loop, go around like the way we've been doing, but instead of coming all the way around the foot, I slip through the middle. And now I'm coming on the outside of the heel to get around the back of the heel to the inside and then across to the outside, little toe all the way through to the big toe. So instead of coming into the foot with a circle, I'm now coming into it with a figure of 8. And the figure of 8 is effectively two circles, one going in one direction, one going the other. So it's just that much more intense and active and meaty. So I put the toe down and then I'm going around the heel and then around the toes. It's like I'm getting a double grab of the ground. One is grabbing with the heel and then I'm grabbing with the toes. So it's very active. And if you watch yourself when you're walking, and this is effectively what we're doing. So big toe down and then around the heel and then around the toes. And then I really pluck this foot off the ground with the action of this foot, not the leg, the foot. So big toe. Heel is really working the ground. You can think of the heel as being a bit like your thumb. Yeah, so the thumb has a lot of action in it. It can do a lot. And so we want to feel the same with the heel. So like my heel is digging down, cutting under, and then I go round the toes and they're clenching like this, and pulling towards the heel. It's just getting a lot more activity in the foot. And it's like the intensity is sort of doubled in frequency. It's just gone up a notch. Working like this with the foot just makes it a lot more flexible. Or the feeling that my foot can almost clench, and also the two parts of the foot can twist against each other. If you give someone a massage, massage their feet, then you can really feel how it's in two parts, the back and the front. So there's a natural figure of eight inside the foot. Okay, let's bring it back. Now let's just try just a little bit more of the figure of eight, but feeling that in the foot. So around the heel, around the toes, around the heel, around the toes. I'm using the muscles not to move my arms, but to create this peristaltic flow in the shape of the figure of eight, which my limb is compelled to trace. And the effort for that peristaltic flow is basically just really coming from here. So this is, it's just working so much your belly, lower back region. So again, this is isometric. And just let that relax. The circles have an expansive largeness, and the figure of eights tend to contract and pull into themselves. So we need both, really. There needs to be that feeling of infinite extent, but also this feeling that everything is coiling up into this really tight, strong, and intense core. Okay, let's bring it up. So all the time, this feeling that my legs could actually bend and just take me down. As soon as we straighten the legs and lock them out, we cut off from the energy. The energy's gone. So I want to feel this pull down and this squeeze up, which is my own strength behaving peristaltically. Series of it's squeezed. This is why we use the word squeeze to describe the use of the muscles. I'm not just tightening the muscles, it's like I'm squeezing something.